The Big 12 regular season win totals have been released over at FanDuel Sportsbook. In today's video, we'll look at each and every projected win total for every Big 12 program and let you know, should you take the over or the under for the Texas Tech Red Raiders? Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxwell here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you want more Big 12 videos here on the channel, again, predominantly Texas Tech stuff here on the channel, but we try and get out at least 1-2 Big 12 weekly videos out there, including Big 12 men's basketball power rankings. We'll do the same for football when that comes around. And if you want to join one of the most engaging Big 12 communities here on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. All right, first and foremost, we're just going to run through these FanDuel over-under win totals for every Big 12 team this season. And again, got some new faces in the Big 12, right? You got Utah, you got the Arizona schools, Colorado coming in, make a little bit of a jump in terms of some of these programs. Let's look at it, though. Going to be an ABC order down at the bottom of your screen. We got the Arizona Wildcats, new coach Brennan there, 8.5 wins. Arizona State with KD at the helm, 4.5. You got Baylor at 5.5. Is that a little too high? It might be with Aranda on the hot seat. BYU, 4.5. Cincy, 5.5. Colorado and Coach Prime, 5.5. Houston, 4.5. Iowa State, 7.5. A lot of hooks here. A lot of hooks. No even numbers in the entire field of the Big 12 in this one. You got Iowa State at 7.5, Kansas at 8.5, Kansas State at 9.5. They're one of only two teams at 9.5. We'll mention the other one here in just a second. Oklahoma State, 7.5. TCU, 7.5. Texas Tech, 8.5. UCF, 8.5. The other 9.5 up there tied with Kansas State. Utah at 9.5. And then West Virginia down at 6.5. It's a little interesting for a couple of these schools. I think a couple of these schools are just clearly being undervalued. And I will be the first to admit, one of them is West Virginia. I was a skeptic on West Virginia last year. I talked a lot of crap. You can even go watch one of their videos that they posted on their main football account saying that I thought West Virginia was the worst team in the Big 12 last season. They shut me up and then some. Shout out to Coach Neil Brown on that front. But this year, I'm not going to be fooled twice. I'm just not going to do it. You proved me wrong. But before we get into my thoughts one more time, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. Most importantly, for Texas Tech info, we've got men's basketball previews, football info, everything you need on the Texas Tech front. But as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to be talking Big 12 as well, at least once or twice a week here on the channel. So join one of the most engaging Big 12 communities here on YouTube by hitting that subscribe button and staying in the know right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel. All right. This is my gut reaction in terms of when I saw these regular season win totals, if I wanted to take the over or the under for each team. And on the bottom line here in just a second, you will see either a U or an O. Obviously, the U is for under, O is for over for each team. This is my gut reaction when I saw these FanDuel numbers. Here we go. Starting with Arizona. I would have taken the over if they had their coach. They lost a couple of guys. Obviously, you get to keep Noah at the QB spot, McMillan at the wide receiver position. Those two playing together for, I believe this is going to be their 6th year in terms of dating back to high school. That's huge for Arizona, but they did lose some key pieces on that offensive line. I think they're going to be under, but I think it's going to be at 8. That hook gets you every time. You got to be conscious of those hooks when it comes to the over-unders. And what I mean by hooks, for those that don't know, that 0.5. You can't get 4.5 wins. You either get 4 or 5, right? So that's what I mean by a hook. Arizona State, man, their first 7 games are just brutal. I mean, it's brutal. I think KD's the right guy for the job there in Tempe, but I took the under for the fact of, again, second year building there. They only won 3 games last year. I think they win 1 more, but it's that hook. That was one of the more difficult ones for me because I think it's either 4 or 5 for them. I just went with 4 because I had a couple of other teams in this similar range go over. Baylor, I just don't get it with Dave Aranda. Like, yeah, they got a couple of guys. I think they did a good job of reloading at the quarterback spot in terms of going out and getting MAC Player of the Year in Daquan Finn. But I'm taking the under. I just think this is one of those years where it's like, why did you keep Dave Aranda when you could have gotten a guy, down at UTSA and Trailer or whatnot, potentially as your replacement as a head coach. I just don't like Baylor to win more than 5 games. So I took the over or under, excuse me. BYU, 4.5. I took the over here. They're old. That's really what it comes down to. And they lost a little bit of talent, no doubt about it, but they also bring back quite a bit of starting caliber guys there for the Cougars out in Provo. So I took the over there. Cincinnati, I think that they got the right guy when it comes down to their head coach. But again, it's almost a put up or shut up type deal here this year. And I just don't know how long it's going to last in terms of them being at the bottom there. But I do think they get 5 wins just under that 5.5. Now, a lot of people are interested. Colorado, they're at 5.5. I took the over, but I think it's going to be that hook again. I think they're at 6. It's either 5 or 6 wins for Colorado this year. I think they addressed the offensive line in a major way in terms of the portal. They just don't recruit high school at all, and that is just kind of a telltale sign, in my opinion. Coach Prime ain't going to be there long. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But I took the over in this situation because I think they find enough, and I think Shadir Sanders is the best quarterback in the Big 12, and I think that he wins them a game or two, being able to stay upright just a little bit more after them addressing that offensive line. So I took the over for Colorado. Houston got a new head coach. I took the over for them. I love Coach Fritz. I think he's done a phenomenal job at Tulane. Now he goes to Houston. It may be a little bit of a rebuilding year there, but I think he can squeak out 5 wins. I think he can do that down there. You got the quarterback in Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith obviously isn't, a world beater or anything, but he's good enough, and I think they're going to tailor the system, and Coach Fritz is smart enough to tailor the system to Donovan Smith, where they probably win a game or two that they probably shouldn't in the Big 12, and that's why I think they get to 5. Iowa State, 7.5. That felt kind of low. I think they win 8 games this year. I think that they do that. Again, fighting Matt Campbell. He's always in job discussions with no agent. It's incredible. Kansas, I said over 8.5. I want to say this. If Daniels isn't healthy, this is a clear under. And that's a big if. I just don't like to project injuries when it comes to my initial takes. That's really what it comes down to for me. But this is basically, do you think Daniel stays healthy for 12 games? If you do, you're probably on my side with the over. Now, if you think he gets hurt and the track record is kind of on that side, if we're just being completely honest, you're probably taking the under. But Leipold has done a phenomenal job up there in Lawrence. They won't play a game in Lawrence this year. They'll actually be playing their home games at Arrowhead. But I took the over, and that was one of the other ones, just like, Arizona State, where I was on the fence about it, but I just went with my gut, as I mentioned, and my gut told me to go over there. My gut also told me to go over on Kansas State. Avery Johnson's the truth, people. If y'all don't know anything about Avery Johnson at Kansas State, you better recognize that guy can simply ball. Call him Sunshine or whatever movie character you want with long blonde hair. Dude can ball out, okay? Kansas State is going to be a real problem this year as they return quite a bit of guys. They lose BB on that offensive line, but they return a ton of talent, and most notably, the true sophomore quarterback in Avery Johnson. He has a chance to win Big 12 Player of the Year, in my opinion. Oklahoma State at 7.5 was interesting. I get it. They lose quite a bit of guys, but they bring back Ollie Gordon, the best running back in the Big 12, arguably the best running back in all college football. You bring back, Bowman. Regardless of how you feel about Bowman, he is a veteran quarterback, an old quarterback in modern college football. That is a good thing. You also bring back Presley at the wide receiver position. So you bring back your QB1, RB1, and wide receiver 1, not to mention a couple pieces on the offensive line. They're counting out Gundy's team again. Give me the over 7.5 on this one. Another 7.5 team, TCU. I took the under here, and it's really because I don't know what the hell Josh Hoover is. He looks solid sometimes, but then it's also like, okay, I just don't see it. I don't see it. But there's some games where he looks great. I just think TCU probably wins 7 games. They're on that borderline for me too, where I could have taken the 8. I just simply didn't because I just don't know what Hoover is. And Hoover could prove me wrong and shut me up just like Garrett Green did last year. But right now, going into the season, gut reaction, I'm taking the under for TCU. Texas Tech at 8.5, over under. I took the over. Call me a homer if you want. Don't really care. The reason being is this. Go look at Texas Tech's schedule and tell me an easier schedule in the Big 12. Just tell me. Just do it. They play the 6th fewest ranked in terms of lowest ranked teams in the Big 12 when it comes to odds of winning the conference. Okay. They play all 6 of them. Okay. Now, their road games, a little difficult. You got to go to Fort Worth, got to go to Ames, right? You play some other teams on the road as well. But it's there for Texas Tech. Texas Tech will legitimately go 7-0 at home this year. And then you sprinkle in 1 or 2 road wins, boom, you hit the over. It's that simple. And by the way, they reloaded the offensive line. They've got a great wide receiver group now led by 5-star true freshman Micah Hudson. You got Josh Kelly there as well from Washington State, who is Cam Ward's leading receiver up there in Pullman. And then you've got a guy like Caleb Payday Douglas. You've got Coy Aiken coming back, Dre McCray. Oh, and by the way, I haven't even mentioned arguably the second best running back in the Big 12, only behind Ollie Gordon and Taj Brooks returning. The key thing for the Red Raiders in terms of hitting their over here, can you keep Baron Morton upright? Again, I don't project injuries. I think the Red Raiders will be better on offense, and I think that makes them hit the over. Now, UCF is one of the more interesting ones because I love the KJ Jefferson addition in a Gus Malzahn offense. Just simple and plain. If KJ Jefferson stays healthy, I think they're a good team. The thing is with me, and they got a little bit better on defense, I just wonder where some of these pieces come from and do they step up because they got some young guys coming in. I took the under, but I think it's 8. I think they win at 8. Those hooks are the ones that always get you there. And I think UCF I was scared by the hook, to be honest, the 0.5. So I took 8-4 for UCF. Gut reaction. Utah at 9.5. I took the over. I think they're the clear best team in the Big 12 coming into this season. I think it's them and Kansas State, then probably a tier drop off. And then you can kind of put teams like West Virginia. I think West Virginia has to be in that conversation. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State has to be up there. Kansas, those types of schools, and you can put them kind of in any order you want. But I think the clear 2 best teams in this conference are Kansas State and Utah. In Utah, I'm taking the over because Cam Rising is damn near the same age as Tom Brady, and old quarterbacks win in college football. I mean, it's just you get experience at the quarterback spot, you have a great chance at winning. And if he stays healthy, like I said, I don't project injury. I think Utah is the clear-cut best team in the Big 12. Now, as for West Virginia, 6.5 is utterly disrespectful. This is lunacy right here. I get it. They lost some guys, and maybe they just thought last year was a fad. Go look at what they bring back. They bring back quite a bit. And again, you got an experienced quarterback in Garrett Green. You got Neil Brown. He proved himself last year. You bring back a ton of weapons on the offensive side of the football for the Mountaineers. 6.5 seems low. I thought this was going to be around 7.5. Okay, I'm taking the 6.5. This is the one that, as of right now, early on, before even spring ball starts, this is the one I feel most confident in right here in West Virginia over 6.5. This just feels like, what do they know that we don't? Because let's be real, the desert always knows something we don't. And right now, that just seems like a crazy, crazy low number, in my opinion. All right. Again, let me run through them real quick. This is my gut reaction. It can change in the summer. We'll probably do this video again in the summer. But this is my initial reaction to the FanDuel Big 12 regular season win totals for each and every Big 12 school this year. I took the under 8.5 for Arizona, under 4.5 for Arizona State, under 5.5 for Baylor, over 4.5 for BYU, under 5.5 for Cincy, over 5.5 for Colorado, over 4.5 for Houston, over 7.5 for Iowa State, over 8.5 on Kansas. That's the one I most feel icky about, if I'm being honest. Icky was a weird word to say there, but I said it anyway. Kansas State, 9.5. I took the over. Oklahoma State, 7.5. I took the over. TCU, 7.5, under. Texas Tech, 8.5, and their easy schedule, at least on paper. I took the over. UCF, under 8.5. Utah, over 9.5. And then the one that just stands out the most to me in terms of how the hell is that line so low is West Virginia at 6.5. And, of course, I took the over. I am RC Maxfield, reminding you one more time, if you want more Big 12 videos here on the channel, simply do 3 things for me. Hit that like button, turn on that notification bell, and then hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on all things Big 12 all year long right here on one of the most engaging Big 12 communities on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel.